Lin Tian awoke to a nightmarish scene, surrounded by grotesque creatures with sharp teeth and deformed bodies. Fear coursed through him as he realized these were goblins, and he was one of them. Once a human, now reincarnated as a lowly monster, he struggled to accept his new reality. Nearby, human girls were trapped by goblins, crying out for salvation. Lin Tian, caught between horror and instinctual desires, realized the goblins were exploiting the women for their vile evolution, a perverse reality where mating with stronger beings enabled them to gain power. Suddenly, a group of human warriors stormed the area, their righteous fury, cutting through goblins with ease. Among them, a nun wielded powerful magic, her holy light scattering the goblin horde. Lin Tian, swept up in the chaos, found himself alone, facing the nun's scrutiny. Desperate, he pleaded for mercy, claiming to be a human trapped in a goblin's body, but his pleas were met with disdain. "What a disgusting thing," the nun spat, readying to end him. Yet the bearded leader stayed her hand, suggesting Lin Tian might be a mutant worth studying. Taken captive, Lin Tian's hopes of returning to humanity crumbled. The human's curiosity soon turned to cruelty. Subjected to relentless torture, he endured agony until his fragile goblin body succumbed. In his final moments, Lin Tian's consciousness dimmed, haunted by his naive trust. Yet as his body perished, a voice echoed within, Sim's system binding. It offered a chance to restart, a sliver of hope for redemption. Thus, Lin Tian's cycle began anew, a shadow of his former self, clinging to the promise of another life, the scars of his previous existence forever etched into his soul. Lin Tian awoke, thrust into the grotesque form of a goblin, burdened with a single remaining life granted by an unknown system. Around him, goblins reveled in the capture of a fallen angel, lost in depraved anticipation. Yet Lin Tian, acutely aware of his mortality and the painful brand of past torment, saw no allure in the angel's beauty. His instinct screamed escape, propelling him to flee amidst the chaos. But the humans pursued with relentless speed, led by the bearded swordsman Loda. They were a force far superior to any goblin resistance. Lin Tian's desperate sprint carried him no more than 100 meters before cold, steel, and disdainful eyes caught him. The nun in white Bing Bing taunted him, ready to exact vengeance for their fallen comrade. Realizing his insignificance, Lin Tian's mind spun with the system's assessment of his pitiful abilities against Loda's formidable power. The prospect of another gruesome death loomed as Loda's blade struck in a cycle of despair. Lin Tian perished once more, only to find himself resurrected. But now, driven by a desperate resolve to survive, back in the queue of goblins, he knew another futile escape wouldn't save him. The idea struck him like a revelation. Rallying the goblins with cries of an impending human attack, he spurred them into a defensive frenzy. Amidst the chaos, Lin Tian fled, leaving the goblins to confront the inevitable. Their sacrifice afforded him precious minutes, enough to break free. At dawn's light, Lin Tian stumbled upon a goblin tribe. But the welcome he sought turned to hostility. Captured and subdued, he faced the tribe's elder, a goblin priest with chilling power. The elder's presence revealed the bleak truth of goblin existence, a race driven by primal urges and rapid reproduction. Yet, in Lin Tian's heart, hope flickered. To survive in this world of darkness, he had to embrace the grotesque reality, perhaps finding strength in the chaos. To redefine his fate, the cold gaze as the goblin priest bore into Lin Tian. As he emerged from the shadows, a sinister smile playing across his lips. The priest turned away, leaving Lin Tian at the mercy of the goblins, who hovered around, eager to roast him alive. Lin Tian, having time traveled into a goblin's memories, anticipated his fate. In desperation, he pleaded, "I can make weapons. Let me join you." The cold gaze of the goblin priest bore into Lin Tian. As he emerged from the shadows, a sinister smile playing across his lips, the priest turned away, leaving Lin Tian at the mercy of the goblins, who hovered around, eager to roast him alive. Lin Tian, having time traveled into a goblin's memories, anticipated his fate. In desperation, he pleaded, "I can make weapons. Let me join you." The priest halted, intrigued, and sniffed Lin Tian with his pointed, blackhead-speckled nose. "No scent of lies," the priest mused, his voice sharp and alien. "What weapons can you make?" "Simple iron weapons," Lin Tian replied with a firm gaze. "Imagine overcoming humans and monsters or attacking the elven tribe to the north." The priest chuckled darkly. "GGG, then do it quickly." Exhausted, Lin Tian realized he couldn't begin the arduous task of smelting iron that night. The goblins grew restless, and the little boss pressed a stone spear to Lin Tian's stomach. "If you can't deliver, you won't eat," the priest warned, retreating into his shack. Lin Tian found a haystack to rest on. To exact revenge and gain strength, he needed to manipulate the goblin tribe and eliminate the insubordinate little boss. His thoughts shifted as a gentle voice roused him from sleep. A small goblin, cloaked and timid, offered him a repulsive piece of skin, her only meal. Despite her fear, her kindness was genuine. Curious, Lin Tian checked her attributes, finding her unique, female goblin, messenger of God, pure soul. Her intelligence was rare among goblins. Shocked, Lin Tian realized the implications. Female goblins were legendary, their existence a path to becoming goblin gods. The little goblin, Gobu Yue, was ostracized for her intelligence and weakness. Grateful for her offering, Lin Tian decided to protect her. "From now on, I'll be your boss," he declared. The little goblin, Gobu Yue, was ostracized for her intelligence and weakness. Grateful for her offering, Lin Tian decided to protect her. "From now on, I'll be your boss." Eager to help, Gobu Yue introduced herself and asked for Lin Tian's name. "Goblin," he replied, a play on his human surname. "Goblin," he replied, a play on his human surname. Together they climbed a tree to scout for iron ore. Gobu Yue had never seen the substance Lin Tian described. Disappointed but determined, Lin Tian resorted to his system. For a simulation. In the simulation, Lin Tian befriended Gobu Yue but faced danger in a quest for iron. Despite Gobu Yue's tragic death, the simulation revealed iron was held by elves across a perilous valley. Pulled from his reverie by Gobu Yue's voice, Lin Tian knew he had to build his strength and influence within the tribe. Life points from a simulation could exchange for iron weapons, crucial for gaining the priest's trust and eventually exacting his revenge on the humans who wronged him. Lin Tian stood with quiet determination amidst the chaos of the goblin camp. The goblin leader, brandishing a stone spear, demanded iron weapons with a hungry menace. Lin Tian's cold gaze met theirs as he unveiled a gleaming sword, its metallic sheen silencing the crowd. With a swift, lethal motion, he cleaved the goblin leader in half, spilling blood and innards onto the earth. The tribe erupted, goblins bristling with weapons, ready to pounce. Gobu Yue trembled at Lin Tian's side. "Don't worry," Lin Tian assured her, as a scepter struck the ground, calling for order. The goblin priest emerged, his eyes glinting with interest at the iron sword. "More," he rasped. "Bring me iron armor." Lin Tian negotiated his role cleverly, agreeing to organize iron hunts, while staying in the camp for safety. The priest, wary but intrigued, transformed Lin Tian into a mini-boss, entrusting him with 30 goblins. A grotesque tableau unfolded As Lin Tian ensured his authority, he stomped the half-dead goblin leader into the soil, then ripped an arm from the corpse to feast upon. The display of raw power quelled any dissent, the goblins cowering in respect and fear. Lin Tian's command was clear. "Bring me stones." The goblins, enticed by promises of meat and elf mates, eagerly complied. Over days, they scoured the land, finally returning with iron ore. Under Lin Tian's direction, the tribe built a clay furnace to smelt the metal. As flames consumed the night, Lin Tian molded his army. He crafted spears from ore, planning to storm the elves' iron-rich lands. The furnace blazed, casting shadows of power across the camp. Gobu Yue, perplexed, asked about her weapon. A meniscus knife, Lin Tian decided, acknowledging her love for the moon. No, Lin Tian's thoughts turned dark, eyeing the priest's lair. He knew the old goblin would seek his death once the weapons were forged. "System, start the simulation," he whispered, preparing for the inevitable betrayal. The air was tense as Lin Tian, a young goblin blessed with ambition, stood amidst the goblin tribe, his achievements in crafting iron spears elevating him to unexpected prominence, with the goblins hailing him as their leader. The revered goblin priest seethed, his prestige eroded by Lin Tian's innovations. Faced with choices, Lin Tian rejected retreat or submission, opting instead to overthrow the priest. Intent on seizing control, Lin Tian's first assassination attempt floundered when the priest, ever cautious, evaded his poison. Wounded, Lin Tian fled into the demonized forest, where survival instincts propelled him through a ruthless evolution. Months passed, and he emerged as a goblin warrior, his tribe now formidable, armed with iron and fire. With newfound strength, Lin Tian returned to the tribe. The ensuing confrontation was fierce. He overthrew the goblin priest and claimed leadership. But his victories were bittersweet. His ambitions stretched beyond the tribe, toward human territories. His efforts met resistance, and though he escaped the Sword Saint's might, with Gobu, the losses were severe. Undeterred, Lin Tian refocused on strengthening his tribe. In private, he shared a complex bond with Gobu, a female goblin whose golden eyes spoke volumes of courage and loyalty. She admired Lin Tian's audacity, though her role in his plans was fraught with sacrifice. Lin Tian's strategy involved harnessing Gobu's latent power to surpass their limitations. Through rituals and ancient rites, he unlocked new strengths, each step pushing him closer to his goal of leading a goblin army, capable of challenging even the mightiest foes. Yet, the path was perilous. The tribal hierarchy and external threats were ever-present dangers, as Lin Tian meticulously crafted iron armor and weapons. His mind raced with calculations and visions of conquest. One evening, with a heart heavy with purpose, Lin Tian prepared for another confrontation. His plans had matured. The goblin priest would not suspect an ironclad warrior in his midst. Approaching the priest under the guise of presenting a gift, Lin Tian concealed his intent to strike when the opportunity arose. However, the goblin priest, wary from past experience, demanded to see the iron. Gift laid upon the ground thirst. Lin Tian's heart pounded. His cover was at risk. The old priest's eyes held the wisdom of suspicion. A formidable barrier Lin Tian had not anticipated. In a moment of quick thinking, Lin Tian obeyed, placing the crescent knife before the priest, but his mind was already racing, devising the next step in his relentless pursuit of power, driven by the unyielding need to secure his future and that of his burgeoning goblin empire. The goblin priest picked up the weapon with a sinister grin. GGG. It's really iron. His demeanor shifted sharply as he charged at Lin Tian with blinding speed. Lin Tian, caught off guard by the priest's direct assault, barely had time to react. As iron clashed and sparks flew, the priest gloated, certain of his victory, but Lin Tian stood unharmed. In his plate armor, shock turned to pain for the priest as he realized a spearhead had pierced his chest. In his desperation, the priest called for aid from the goblins, but they hesitated, his authority shattered. Seizing the moment, Lin Tian declared himself their new leader, promising power and plunder. The goblins roared their approval, and Lin Tian demonstrated his resolve by severing the priest's arm, throwing it to the ravenous crowd. Now the leader, Lin Tian, rallied the tribe, distributing weapons and planning their growth to seek vengeance against old enemies. As the days passed, the goblins, under Lin Tian's rule, gathered resources and forged new weapons, preparing for battles ahead. A goblin army set out to hunt, first targeting a pack of formidable, demonized wolves. Despite their fearsome reputation, Lin Tian's strategic mind led the goblins to victory. Through cunning and a ruthless will to survive, the goblins gained new strengths from their defeated foes. As Lin Tian trained his army, they encountered a massive black-maned giant bear. Through patience and poison, they felled the beast, gaining its mighty abilities. With each victory, Lin Tian's forces grew stronger, their confidence and skills honed for the inevitable clash with their elven adversaries. With their newfound power, Lin Tian set his sights on the elven tribe, eager to expand his domain and exact revenge. He knew they must sharpen their edge, for the path ahead was fraught with danger. Lin Tian was no longer prey, but a hunter, leading a fearsome goblin force, poised to claim their place in a brutal, unforgiving land. In the heart of a sprawling banyan tree, Leah, the revered elf mother, nurtured a newborn with a grace that exuded maternal tenderness. Her golden pupils, reflective of ancient wisdom, regarded the world with affection, in stark contrast to the youthful innocence of Kasana, who had arrived bearing troubling news. Mother, I found the carcass of a black-maned giant bear in the eastern woods, devoured by beasts. Leah's serene demeanor darkened. Such a beast, powerful enough to threaten their very tribe. Lay vanquished. By what? Kasana continued. Goblin footprints surrounded the scene. Could they have done it? Leah scoffed, dismissing the notion that mere goblins, despised and deemed insignificant, could vanquish such a formidable creature. It must be humans, she concluded. The following day, Kasana, breathless and flushed, burst into Leah's chamber, only to find her amidst disarray and embarrassed guests. Composing herself, Leah focused on Kasana's discovery of a goblin lurking near their domain. You missed the shot? Leah inquired, surprise coloring her words. It escaped, Mother, Kasana admitted, seeking solace in Leah's reassuring embrace. Meanwhile, deep within the shadows, Lin Tian, a cunning goblin leader, plotted. His goblin scouts had counted numerous elf dwellings, each harboring potential captives. Tonight we strike, he declared to his tribe, confident in their newfound strength. Confident in their newfound strength. As the goblins prepared, Lin Tian utilized a mystical simulation to foresee the outcome of their raid. The vision was grim. Their attack, once thought foolproof, ended in disastrous defeat, ambushed by elves atop the treetops. His plan had been anticipated, orchestrated by unseen eyes. No. Alarmed, Lin Tian's gaze scanned the canopy, discovering a hidden elf sentry, Kasana, who had been tailing him. Realizing the danger, Lin Tian ordered a ruse. Luring her attention away, he prepared a poisoned arrow. From the shadows, he aimed, determined to silence her warning shot forever. Kasana, her face burning with shame and pain, barely stifled a scream. As agony shot through her, an arrow was quickly pulled free, and she found herself facing the sneering goblin, Lin Tian. Fury overriding caution, Kasana drew her bow, unleashing arrows. as she pursued Lin Tian through the treetops into the goblin tribe's heart. Her shots wounded but did not kill, her pride swelling as the goblins scattered in terror beneath her. She taunted them, promising death and vengeance, her voice echoing over the frightened horde. Yet, as she loosed another arrow at Lin Tian, dizziness clouded her senses. Her strength vanished, and she tumbled from the tree, the fall both wounding her and stripping her of her magical stealth suit, exposing her to the goblin's ravenous eyes. The goblin surged toward her, held back only by Lin Tian's command. Powerless and paralyzed, Kasana could only weep as Lin Tian tore away her remaining silk garments, mocking her futile resistance. Her pleas for family and salvation went unanswered. As she was subjected to Lin Tian's cruel vengeance, her cries drowned by the goblin's laughter. When at last Lin Tian finished, he locked her in a cage, promising the goblins. Kasana, broken and shivering, rejected the goblin Gobu Yui's gentle offer of water, recoiling from any kindness. Gobu Yue, with more empathy than his kin, tried in vain to comfort her, and offered back her torn suit, but Kasana remained inconsolable, clinging only to memories of her home and family as the camp prepared for war. That night, under the shrouded boughs of the Vientiane forest, Lin Tian led the goblin raiders, their daggers glinting as they scaled the wax-slick tree trunks toward the elves' aerial homes. Goblins clustered at every cabin door, poised for the signal. Home to the elf clan mother. Using supernatural silence, he slipped inside, preparing to poison her as she slept. But the elven matriarch, powerful and vigilant, woke instantly, her dagger drawn, challenging him. With a shout, Lin Tian summoned the goblins, who crashed through the doors. Screams pierced the night as chaos erupted. Elves fell under daggers, and the haunting wails of the dying carried through the ancient, moonless woods. The elf mother turned swiftly, peering out the window at the chaos below. Her heart sank as she watched goblins dragging the body of a male elf into a wooden house. "Damn goblin," she cursed, fury igniting her resolve. She brandished her sword and lunged at Lin Tian, the goblin leader. He dodged deftly, chuckling. "Don't resist. Your sentinel Kasana is with us now. We are a family." GG. Leah, the elf mother, attacked in rage, but Lin Tian countered with a poisoned dagger, wounding her leg. "A goblin dares fight me?" she gasped, grabbing her bow. But outside, the village burned and goblins herded. Elven captives. Despair clouded Leah's mind. Why is this happening? How can they defeat us? She cried out as the pleas of her kin echoed around her. Determined, she notched an arrow and struck down a goblin. Lin Tian, seeing the attack, slashed her bowstring. "Yield, and I will treat you well," he sneered. Leah's strength faded, and she succumbed to the poison's grasp. The night became a nightmare as the goblins seized the elves. By dawn, 30 captives were led away. Kasana, caged and desperate. "Mother, no! This can't be real!" she wailed. Leah, now captive, pleaded with Lin Tian. "Let Kasana and the children go. I'll stay here." Lin Tian's response was cold, a twisted grin across his face. The goblins, driven by some dark force, began expanding their numbers. Leah and Kasana were confined, their hope dwindling. "You two, resign to your fate," Lin Tian commanded. Despite the horror, Leah realized their new reality. Survival meant birthing goblin children. Over time, the captives' bellies swelled, their spirits broken. Lin Tian, satisfied, visited them. "You'll have freedom when the time is right. Now, focus on what's inside you." Though enraged, Leah held back, mindful of her unborn child. As days turned to weeks, the elves understood their destiny in this twisted dominion. Lin Tian's reign over them was absolute, and escape seemed but a distant dream. Lin Tian found a hidden place to simulate the latest scenario provided by the Sim system, captive elf. In this dark reality, he had conquered. The northern elf tribe and the captive female elves were pregnant with goblin offspring, one of whom Pualia had taught him the art of. Elven stealth, eager for revenge against the bearded blade warriors, Lin Tian discovered their presence in Guangming town. Facing critical choices, Lin Tian hesitated between taking immediate action, leading a goblin assault, or observing silently. Opting for caution, he remained in the town, discovering that dragons plagued the area and the Sword Saint had been called to their aid. As he attempted to retreat, the Sword Saint confronted him, ending his life swiftly. Lin Tian, returning to reality, pondered the Sword Saint's challenge. A sense of urgency pressed on him. The elf births were imminent. Together with Gobu Yu, he assisted the elves, ensuring their survival. Among them, Kasana struggled, their cries echoing in defiance. Despite her resistance, Lin Tian aided her, and she gave birth to sextuplets. Yet the cruelty of their existence loomed as goblins moved to claim the exhausted elves. Lin Tian, wielding his dagger with authority, dispatched several goblins, demanding respect for the elves' recovery. His unexpected protection surprised Leah and the other elves. Treat them well, and you'll see the benefits, Lin Tian assured them. With the tribe stabilized, he turned his gaze to human lands, confiding in Gobu Yu his plan to track down Lodell and others. Leah warned him of the danger, yet offered her stealth skill, helping him blend unnoticed among humans. With her aid, Lin Tian disguised himself and set off, determined to find his enemies, his figure vanishing into the forest's edge.